So kneeling in front of the bolster. This is prone low back shavasana. So I lie down. You could do a stack of blankets or a bolster. If the bolster's not too puffy, then it's okay. Otherwise, a stack of blankets. And then the alignment specification is to see that the tailbone is lengthening downward. So not to be so high up that the tailbone goes up, but a little bit down. So the legs are coming down toward the floor, the tailbone angling down. And then you can adjust the roll so that it's under the ankles, the back thigh spread from inside out. And then, depending on the length of your bolster, you have to kind of arrange your head support so that you can breathe. If you need to turn your head to the side, you can also do that. And then to come out, you roll into your side. So let me see. I see the bolster is kind of tall. So let's see. Yeah, no, that's all right. That's all right. Glasses off. Because of the height of the length of the bolster, Caitlin, you might be better off turning your head to the side if it doesn't hurt. Okay, does that feel okay on your neck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Otherwise, you could put a little bit of a blanket under the side of the head. But that looks okay. Okay. So then you spread across the back ribs, spread across the back chest, spread across the lumbar, and then just let the weight of the legs draw the buttocks down away from the back waist, and then broaden across the sacrum. Take your feet a little bit wider, roll your thighs in, and then spread the back thighs from inside out. So the big toes coming toward each other, heels away from each other is the feeling there. And that's always going to be the case for low back issues, to spread, to create more space in that sacral lumbar region. After a couple of minutes, you can turn your head to the other side. You decide when you want to turn your head. There should not be any aching. So actually what I suggest for you, Caitlin, roll to your side. I'm going to modify this pose slightly for you. So roll to your side and come on out. And what I suggest is take another blanket. All right, get another blanket and then fold it in thirds. So from Sarvangasana fold, yeah, like just like that. Maybe in thirds or half. I'm not sure which yet. Yeah, I think half is good. Yeah, half is good. Then lay it across the bolster like this, towards the bottom half. Yeah. Okay. So now your navel is going to go on there. Okay. So the reason why I'm suggesting this particularly for you is to remove some of the dip in the lumbar. Okay. Yeah. So now go ahead and lie down. Let me see. And then yes, that's better. See, now the lumbar is broader, and so that's going to be more conducive to sacral health. Okay. And so really all of these poses need to be customized, you know, to each individual and their situation. And so the body shape, the situation, the age, ability, all that stuff needs to be taken into consideration. So here, let everything spread. This is, I find this pose to be like really one of the most effective if I throw my sacrum off. It helps to level the pelvis. It helps the muscles. If there's any gripping or spasming, it helps the muscles to release. and it creates more symmetry in the spine and in the hips. What I have even found about this pose is that when I am in low back distress, that I can even like do some laptop work in this position. I can put the laptop in front of me and stay on the bolster while I type a little bit. It's not the best, but it's much better than sitting up sometimes. Now, let me just say, the way that you could make this more of a shoulder pose, if you have shoulder issues, is to also elevate your arms. So you could put like a rolled blanket under your armpits, and then blocks or bolsters under your forearm and palm. So all of these poses can be customized. So then what you would do, have your arms bent, Caitlin. Have the block perpendicular. Turn the block perpendicular. Yes, like that. And then put your elbows. Move the blocks up toward the wrist. Yes, like that. Yes, kind of like that. And then if you were in the studio, what I would do is roll blankets and put them under your armpits so that the chest would open a little bit more. But I would say for now, just stick with the simple setup. But if you want to come back to it at another time, then yeah, you can build up a little bit higher. And then what that arm support would do is it would help to pull the shoulder blades in. And so then you're addressing the upper back and the neck region as well with the arms in this position. You could even raise the arms a little bit higher by putting a blanket on top of the block or the bolster. So you can experiment with these things, but just if you understand the basic shape, and the intention, then you can start to modify and vary it according to what your needs are on any given day. That's really the intelligence of this method. Okay, so now let's start to come on out. So roll off to the side and then sit up. And let's take Pavan Uttanasana. So a chair, if you have two chairs, have two chairs. Otherwise you can do like a chair and the couch like I have here. And so the bolster will go on the second chair or the couch, and then a blanket, I would say probably 2 blankets on top of the chair, like this. The height on the chair kind of depends on the height of the person, but I think 2 is probably good. And then let's also have a blanket for the head, like this. So let's see, let me just try out this setup. So I feel like the bolster is a little bit low, so I'm going to put a blanket on top of the bolster. You could even put like pillows, couch pillows would even be fine, on top of the bolster, just to raise it up a little bit higher. And then I come forward. Now, what's nice is if I can scoot back a bit and have the bolster also on the chair a little bit. Yeah, that looks good, Caitlin. And then come forward. And if the bolster is too short, then you could put a block at the end, but I think yours is long enough. Let me take a look. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah. So the feet underneath the knees, toes more or less pointing forward. If sometimes people have growing pain, if they're having low back issues, in which case um, that they might need to turn the toes out a little bit. But now extending forward, resting the trunk. So this is the same situation, same shape, I'll say, same shape as low back, prone low back shavasana in terms of from the spinal perspective, different orientation. So every time we change the orientation, the effect's going to be a little bit different. So here there's a gravitational effect because you're coming from a seated position instead of a lying down position, and then extending the trunk forward. The blanket under the hips is to give a little elevation to promote that downward flow of the spine, and also to encourage the spine to move from back to front. You could either rest your forehead or you could turn your head, whatever is works better for you. And then widening across the back waist again, widening across the sacrum. Still, there's a feeling, when you were lying down, I instructed you to lengthen the tailbone downward. So here, there's still a feeling of the buttocks lengthening downward. In other words, not to let the buttocks lift up. Now, as I recall, Caitlin, sometimes the sacrum reveals an asymmetry for you in this pose. So make sure, reach back and make sure that the buttock bones are on the same line. It's very common for one buttock bone to be ahead of the other. So take some time to make sure that the buttock bones are on the same line. And you might need to adjust the buttock a little bit with your hands in order to get them level. Yeah. And so when you level the buttock bones, then you might notice like that the groins feel different from each other. You might notice that you can bend forward more from one side or the other. And so then, you can do just like that, Caitlin, to come up part way, to lengthen the buttocks down, get even in the groins, and then slowly lay yourself down with as evenly as possible. So that side that's resistant, get that to soften. And the side that's quick to move, get that to stabilize. And maybe hold back a little bit. Our body habitually moves in ways that are easier, but it's not always what's best for us. Sometimes we have to encourage that hesitant side. Sometimes we have to encourage that reluctant side and give it the support that it needs to move more. And then sometimes the place that moves easily, we have to hold back. We have to restrain it a bit so that it doesn't get injured. This is week 5, so it's actually restorative week. I'm kind of doing a combination of restorative and back bend week, but today we're doing all kind of restful spinal health poses. Last week some of the classes were were canceled because of Abhijata's workshop, and so I do want to do some back bends and some of the other classes. But today we're not going to do any back bends, we did some last week. Okay, so now coming up, keep your setup, keep your bolster where it is, and then now from here, come up and step wide and come forward onto the bolster. Into Prasarita Padottanasana. So that you'll need to take your socks off and then step your feet wide. Hips over the heels. Now in this pose it is helpful to have a block to extend the length of the bolster. Okay, so that you can be completely supported by the bolster. Now, also, let me just say, Pavanmuktanasana, Prasarita Padottanasana, you might also want to use that blanket under the navel. It looks okay, so I didn't require it, but it's something that you can think about and observe that might be helpful if you have a lordosis of the lumbar, if the low back sways. I'm coming up so I can watch you. Now, the whole trunk should be supported. You pull it nice and close in. And, yeah, good. And then step wide. Step as wide as you need to. So actually, you're not really on the chair. The chair is just there from the previous pose.
Yeah, I just needed to support the bolster more. It was like falling down.
Oh, I see. Oh, good idea.
Well, it's a little floppy.
Okay, yeah, good idea. And now this orientation, so now you can think about like, okay, the shape of the trunk is the same in low back shavasana, Pavanmuktanasana, and Prasarita Padottanasana. But what's different? What's different are the legs, right? So in the first position, the legs were completely on the floor as you're lying on your stomach. In the second position, the legs were in a seated position. And now here the legs are, you're in a standing pose, you're upright. So then, what changes? So the buttocks change, the hips change because the legs are, you're now upright, bearing weight. So there's an anterior tilt of the pelvis. So maybe, hopefully you can feel that you can get more spinal extension, more length of the spine because the angle between the trunk and the hips is in a 90-degree flexion. If it's possible to take your feet just a little bit wider, Caitlin, yeah, so that the pubis is also touching the bolster, all right? Because that helps to level the hips when the pubis is on the bolster. And get that back waist to widen again, stay come to widen again. See that the legs are active because if the legs become passive, then the spine loses its length here. The spine will shrink. And then if you're aware of, I'm not there to see like if anything is asymmetrical, so you have to kind of like tune in and feel, okay, where's the asymmetry in this pose? Am I working more in one leg than the other? Are the groins level or not? Are the buttock bones level or not? So those are the things that you have to discern in this pose. All right. Come on up. Put your hands into the bolster and sit up. Stand up, I mean. Okay, so now you can move your chair out of the way. Let me see. Okay, so I would say use that ottoman that you have, and then now stack your bolster. Let's see. How about this? You have 2 blocks?
Yes.
Put 2 blocks. Let me show you. Put 2 blocks on your ottoman, like this. Okay, and the bolster on top of that. Okay, then well, okay, now stand up. Okay, so now put 2 blankets on top of that. 2 blankets on top of the bolster. All right, so now you have this tall, long support. And then from here, I still need to separate my feet a little bit. So now separate your feet enough so that the pubis is touching the blanket, the top blanket, and then drape yourself over for Ardha Uttanasana. So it's kind of like Prasarita Padottanasana, except the feet are closer together. Yeah. Yes. Yes, that looks good. That looks good. Yeah, so then widen across the lumbar again, widen across the sacrum. See that the hips are level, see that the buttock bones are level, see that the groins are level. I feel like I need just a little more height. I'm going to put a pranayama pillow. Yeah, that's creepy. And see that the feet are in line with the hips. In other words, the legs perpendicular to the floor. And grip the quadriceps, move the middle of the front thigh back, open up the belly of the hamstring, spread the calf. And so now you can also do like a little compare and contrast in your mind about, okay, what's the difference? What am I feeling here in this pose that's different from Prasarita Padottanasana? It's similar to Prasarita Padottanasana, but now the feet are closer together. It is asking more of the hamstrings. And then and that extra ask of the hamstrings might be creating maybe slight pelvic asymmetry that you have to figure out and level off. Now, what's nice if you were at the studio is if you had ropes holding the hips.
I actually do have.
Do you have a rope? Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, you could do it there. Yeah. Yes, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, so you could hold your hips there, and then that could be very helpful to get the symmetry. So did you attach it to the door hinge?
It's around the
No.
door.
Okay, nice. Very nice. Good idea.
So I should still put the blankets on the thing.
Yeah. Yeah, all the doors in my apartment open the wrong way.
Oh, no.
Except for, well, yeah, no, all the doors in my apartment open the wrong way.
A lot of mine don't actually latch, so it's.
Oh, yeah, in the old houses.
Yeah, this one.
I put my ropes up on a door that has a deadbolt, so at least I know that the deadbolt will hold. Okay, good. So then widen across the low back. Yeah, see that the hips, and then even here with the rope, with the strap, you might find that one hip, one thigh is pushing more into the rope than the other. So then that will give you a clue as to how the hips need to go in order to create the symmetry. So developing that sensitivity and learning how to kind of micro adjust. Uh-huh. So stay for 3 more breaths. Okay, so now come up, walk forward, come up to your feet, and then take the bolster off the ottoman. Now I'm thinking that you could stay there for Adho Mukha Svanasana. So if you push the ottoman forward, take the blocks off, everything. If you push it forward, and then take your feet back, and then hands on the ottoman. Yeah, then you can take Adho Mukha Svanasana. Oh yeah, very nice. Push the stool forward more. Yes. Turn the toes in, inner thighs back. Good. Does this feel okay on your shoulders?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, Svanasana is actually one of the very best poses for spinal health because you get the traction of the spine. So it's very normal for our spine to kind of like get a little shortened over the course of the day from sitting and standing, driving, whatnot, and then for little like kinks or asymmetries to settle in. And so Adho Mukha Svanasana, especially when you do it with traction, kind of smooths out the entire spine and works out all the kinks, the knots, the catches, the asymmetries. Now, be mindful of your shoulders here. Draw the triceps down toward the floor, the biceps up toward the floor. Up away from the floor, sorry. Yes. So external rotation of the arm, of the upper arm. And the reason for that is to secure the humerus in the shoulder socket so that there's no chance of injury in the shoulder. People often want to internally rotate the upper arm bone because they feel like maybe it's a little bit easier. They might have a little more range of motion in the internal rotation, but it's not healthy for the shoulder. It's not a healthy position. It's not a healthy relationship between the humerus and the shoulder socket. What I mean by that is it's kind of like abusing the relationship. You know, it's exploiting the relationship, and it's not bringing the humerus into a stable position, a stable, sustainable position in the shoulder socket. Here too, as in the previous poses, see that the lumbar is wide, back ribs wide, shoulder blades pulling from back to front, spine moving from back to front. Here, if you have traction, then you can, then the hips should be even, groins even, buttock bones even. And then walk forward and come on up. Now, there's another way to do Adho Mukha Svanasana at home. So you would do it with a chair. So you can have the chair like this, and then put a blanket on the top of the chair, like so. And then it might be helpful to have 2 blocks. So to have the blocks like this in front. So now I lean into the chair like this from the hinge of the hips. And then I walk the hands forward. So this is creating kind of like that rope feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's happening? So Yeah, now can you to walk the feet back? And the weight should be into the chair such that you could lift both feet off the floor at the same time.
Yeah, except
So like this.
my chair would fall.
Is the chair too tall?
Yeah, and my chair, if I lift my feet up, my chair is gonna.
Like this. Put your elbows on the seat of the chair and lift your feet up. Put your elbows. Yeah, is that okay? Oh, the chair is tippy.
Yeah.
So, all right, so then just work with what you've got.
And I think it's.
Just walk your hands forward and your feet back.
Mhm.
Yeah. Take the blocks high. The blocks high. Are they on the highest height?
Yeah, they're on the
Oh,
high.
they are. Okay, I see it. It is a pretty tall chair.
Chair's a little too high.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so you could put your hands on another chair, but just for now, just stick with it for another few breaths and walk your feet back. And trunk forward. Trunk forward. Yes. Uh-huh. Okay. All right, so you could try it if there's another chair later on. You could try it from another chair. You have to get the proportions right. Okay, and then come on out. I think for the next pose, it would be good to come back to the stool, the ottoman. I'll show you on this chair. So Chaturanga, we did this in class the other day. This is the one where you just lie on your stomach and let your trunk hang.
Yeah, I've been doing that on this ottoman.
Yeah, and you could do two chairs. I mean, a stool and like you could put the chair here for your shoulders and head if you want. So then you would be here. This is like my new favorite position. Yes, very nice. Uh-huh. And the knees should just dangle. And so you'll want enough height underneath the trunk so that the legs can dangle. The knees almost touching the floor, but not quite touching the floor. Yes. Yeah. So just the weight of the legs helps to settle the sacrum. And if there's a little asymmetry in the sacrum, then you'll notice that one knee is closer to the floor than the other. So as you stay in the pose, hopefully the sacrum will kind of settle, the pelvis will settle, so that the pelvis is parallel to the floor and not tilted. That tilt is what gets us in trouble in terms of low back pain, sacral pain. And of course, this is a pose that you can do as long as you want, as often as you want. It's great, great. All right, so coming up. So let's do a twist or two, okay? So the bolster will go in the middle of your mat, and then a blanket like so. So I'm gonna start with my back to you. So the right hip is near the bolster, and then from here, and my legs are in Bharadvajasana position. I'm not worrying about this left hip right now. The knees are pointing forward, same direction as my nose. And it's okay if this back hip is up for now. Now I turn toward the bolster, and then I'm turning the chest onto the bolster, and then putting the blanket underneath the left ear, like that. Okay? So it's a supported Bharadvajasana. I heard the bell. Yeah. Good. So now getting that spinal rotation. Now, I just want to give a caveat or two. So if there's active pain, then you could build up the support so that you don't have to twist so far. And then also, if it hurts to turn the head, you can have the head facing the opposite direction. So that's okay. So you don't have to. So the intensity of the twist you can monitor. All right. You don't have to. You don't have to crank it if it's putting you in a precarious position. So what's nice about this kind of prone twist is then you can use gravity to passively twist. So normally twists take a lot of effort. They take some rajas and some, you need to put some muscle into it. But here in this passive twist, you're just allowing the props, basically the props and the setup to have an effect on your spine and your brain and your mind. Whenever we're talking about the spine, we're talking about the nervous system, and we're talking about the brain and the mind. So all of that is part of spinal health. It's not like you can isolate the spine from the nervous system or the brain. It's all one piece. It's all interconnected. And so hopefully, as you are doing this passive twist, you can feel that spinal movement. The spinal cord is also moving, the brain stem, neck, and the neck and head are moving. And then hopefully you can cultivate a quietness, a passiveness in the brain as well. If you're finding that the brain is being like really stimulated because of the twist in the neck, then like I said, you can reverse the turn of the head so that you don't have to turn it. You don't have to twist it in line with the spine. You can turn it in the opposite direction. Okay. And then come on up. All right. Stretch your legs straight, then turn around. And then rotate and lie over. Sometimes twists are the best thing for like headaches. Sometimes when we have headaches, it's from the asymmetry, you know, kind of like the kinks and catches that I mentioned earlier. And so then So then sometimes twist can really help with that cooling effect. Yeah, so you can build it up.
Yeah, it feels more compressed. This is on my right
Oh,
side.
yeah,
Compressed. So you think like building it up would be good?
yeah. I think, yeah, that's good. Uh-huh. You can build it up as much as you need to. Mhm. So even though that back hip, we're not forcing it to stay down, have a feeling of that hip moving away from the waist so that you lengthen in the back waist. And the creating space between the bottom rib and the hip. So then, of course, with scoliosis, then what you would do is support the spine. I would say sort of like micro supports in the spine. Like you could put like washcloths, towels, small pads to support the places that are moving too quickly and encourage the places that are reluctant to move, the stiffer places, to move more. So um, since both of you are teachers, that's something to recognize. All right. Come on up. Stretch your legs straight. Then let's take Ardha Halasana. So I think you could use that chair, and what I suggest is to, so let me just pull out the chair that I have that's similar to what you've got. So with a chair like this, the bolster could go across like this. If the bolster's too high, then put blankets instead. Now, yeah, what's nice is you have the opening there. Now, fold up your mat so that your head's not on the sticky mat, and then put blankets for your shoulders. Put as much height as you need. And because it's closed on the end, then what I'll do is I'll take the feet wide so you can watch for a moment. I pull the chair all the way in, and then I'll take the feet wider. See, I'm taking the thighs all the way onto the bolster and the feet wider. I could probably use one more blanket under my shoulders. They're a little bit light, but you get the idea here. Okay. Make sure you have plenty of support. Now pull the chair in. The chair needs to come all the way to touch your shoulders. It's stuck, yeah. So get rid of the mat, and then so the chair can slide. Uh-huh. Pull the chair all the way in to touch your shoulders. Yes, to touch the blankets, I mean. Yes, good. And then kick up. Uh-huh. And now take your feet wide. Caitlin, I feel like you need another blanket. Do you have another blanket? Or put the sticky mat underneath the blankets.
Yeah.
I feel like you need more height. Sticky mat under the blankets, and even like a towel, or put a fourfold. Yeah, so it's nice and thick. And then now put the bottom blanket, Kaylin, fold it twice. Yes, fold it like that. And then put the top blanket big. The top blanket big. Yes, like that. Oh, fold it one more time. Yes, good. Yeah, okay. And if you even have one more, I would put one more. Otherwise, just try it like that. Shoulders on the blanket. Shoulders on the blanket. Neck on the blanket. Even have your neck on the blanket. Okay, good. And then up you go. Yeah. Up and over, and then the feet wide, thighs on the bolster, thighs on the bolster, feet wider. Yes, like that. So it's almost like a kind of in between halasana and Supta Konasana. And then can you get more of the thighs on? Yeah, it would be nice if you could get thighs a little bit more on, more support. Okay, good. That's better. So then the trunk is perpendicular to the floor. Now you can just relax your arms. Whatever position you want to put your arms in is fine here. Yeah. So maybe next time I would put blankets instead of the bolster on the chair, because the chair is a little tall, but that's okay. Yeah. What I'm looking for right now is that perpendicularity of the trunk. So I see that the trunk is perpendicular, so that's good. And so the hips, what's so wonderful and healing about this pose is that the hips are so high, and the support is such that the spine can just dangle. There should be a feeling of like the spine just dangling and the low back widening. So it should feel quite wonderful. Now, if you're not used to the Jalandhara Bandha, the chin lock, then of course you could build up the height underneath the shoulders. You could put quite a bit of height under the shoulders. But the more you get onto the top of the shoulders, the crown of the shoulders, then the less neck compression you'll feel. You can stay for another like 2 minutes if it's comfortable. And then of course, all of these poses, any of these poses you could stay for as long as you want. Unlimited amounts of time, really, because these are all supported poses. All right. So now, for the final, we're going to do just a little bit of pranayama. So the blankets are in this shape, and I'm putting 2 of them on top like that. Turn it the long way. Turn it the long way. And all the way toward the head side. All the way toward the head side. And then have them stacked evenly, one on top of the other. And then, so for the white blankets, I need to lengthen. I have to create an extender like that. And then the blanket goes, the head pillow goes halfway on the extender, halfway on the support. Okay? Now, if you don't have another blanket for your head, then you could use a pillow or, yeah, that'll work. Okay? And then sit. So now this particular setup for pranayama, and then scoot the buttocks forward, come down onto your elbows, puff the chest, then lay yourself down. Then before you straighten your legs, buttocks forward. This particular setup for pranayama is like the sort of, I would say, like the mildest and most supported setup. And then extend your legs forward. Of course, there are many, many ways to set up for pranayama. And then reach through the heels, legs straight, and then release the feet. But this particular setup is like the mildest and the gentlest. It's not a huge lift. It's just a little mild lift. And because of the broadness, then it supports the entire spine. You know, the more sort of more maybe advanced setups are usually narrow. This one is broad. So it's appropriate for people with mild spinal issues because it's not an aggressive setup at all. It's a very gentle setup. Okay, so now rest here in Shavasana. Completely let go of all effort. Have your arms just outside the mat. Have your hands just outside the mat. Yeah. So there's a downward feeling of the shoulders moving away from the ears and a downward feeling of the arms lengthening down toward the feet. Sometimes we go for the horizontal, but today have a feeling of that vertical axis, the shoulders moving down. Now here too, as in the previous poses, still broad across the sacrum, broad across the low back. But because there's a little bit of a lift, then the abdomen will be on a slight incline. And that slight incline of the abdomen helps to lift the abdomen toward the back body, which is the prerequisite for the chest expansion. So now, just soft, steady breath. Don't do anything special with your breath right now. Just soft, steady breath. Face quiet. Throat soft. Hands soft. Groin soft. And from a place of quietness, stillness, rest, and start to shape the breath a bit with your consciousness. And so inviting the breath to become a little slower, a little softer. Just a little slower, a little softer. And then as the breath becomes a little slower and softer, now adding a small abdominal lift. Inhale to lift the breath into the rib cage. Feel the rib cage expanding. To receive the breath. And then continue in this manner. Slow, soft breath. Lift of the abdomen as you inhale to pull the breath up into the rib cage. Keep that lift of the abdomen as you exhale until the very end of the exhale. Do continuous cycles, but very soft and steady, so that there's no gasping for breath, there's no aggression in the breath, and not even a need to take resting breaths in between, because the cycles will be so soft and gentle and mild. Slow, soft inhale, slow, soft exhale. As you continue with the cycles, then the breath will naturally want to become a little longer, a little slower, a little softer. So support that inclination with the abdominal lift. And then you can also add a slight pull of the shoulder blades down and forward toward the front body to lift the breath into the chest region. Continue along these lines for another minute or two. Remember to keep the breath so soft and gentle that you don't feel any gasping for breath, no strain, just soft, steady. Finish this cycle, then return to normal breathing. All right, then be here in Shavasana for a few more minutes. I'm going to officially end class, but you can stay